I also have an arrow that points right, so I can always go right. Because I can always go left and I can always go right, my domain is going to be x, such as x is an element of all the real numbers. My range, I have an arrow that points down, and I have an arrow that points up. As I trace this, I don't have to lift my pen or pencil up at all. I can go down forever or up forever. Therefore, my range f of x, such as f of x, can be anything, or it's going to be an element of all the real numbers as well. Now, an x-intercept is the coordinate where the graph crosses the x-axis. The coordinate is always going to be number, comma, 0. A y-intercept is where the coordinate where the graph crosses the y-axis, and that is always 0, comma, number. I find the domain, range, x and y intercepts for the following graphs. So this is f of x equals x squared. Our apparent function is quadratic, and we have no transformations. When there are no arrows, we're going to assume there are arrows unless they put the dots in for us. Our domain here is going to be x, such as I'm going left forever and I'm going right forever. That means my x values can be anything. X is an element of all the real numbers. For my range, this arrow points up and this one points up. Therefore, it cannot be all real numbers. I can't go down forever. So we're going to have f of x, or you could use y. The lowest point I have is 0. That's as far down as I'm able to go. So it's going to be greater than or equal to 0 because I'm allowed to go up forever. My x-intercept, I'm crossing or touching the x-axis at 0, so it's going to be 0, 0. And I'm also crossing or touching the y-axis at 0, so it's 0, 0 as well. Please remember, if you cross or touch at 0, 0, it is an x and a y-intercept. For problem 6, this is our cubic function. I have transformed it. I'm moving right 3, and I know that because it's a minus 3 inside those parentheses, and I can see it in the graph because most of the time it crosses at 0, 0. So for my domain, I'm talking about left and right. So I can go left forever, and I can go right forever. Therefore, my domain is going to be x, such as x is an element of all the real numbers. For my range, remember, we're assuming these are arrows. I'm going down forever, and I'm going up forever. Therefore, I can have any y value. So f of x, such as f of x, is an element of all the real numbers. For the x-intercept, I can see that fairly easily here. It's 3, 0. The y-intercept, because I'm going left forever, I know I will eventually cross the y-axis. You can either look this one up in Desmos to figure it out, and you might have to move the graph around, or we know for our y-intercept, the x value is always 0. I can just plug 0 in. So if I plug 0 in for x, we have 0 minus 3 cubed. That's going to give me negative 3 cubed, which is negative 27. So I'm going to have 0, negative 27 as my y-intercept. The last little bit of information has to do with some special cases that come about with some of our parent functions. A continuous graph is a graph that you can trace without lifting your pen or pencil. It will have no gaps from holes or asymptotes. A discontinuous graph is a graph that you have to lift your pen or pencil to draw or trace. There are gaps from holes or asymptotes. That's what causes the gaps.